Good morning and welcome to this live stream. As ever, if you have questions about maths teaching, particularly primary maths teaching, they take priority, just post them. Be happy to try and help you with them. But I also have a theme. Now, I was going to be talking about the fourth in the series of maths intervention lessons I'm doing, but my week descended into chaos as ever. I was poorly, and then I needed to go to a funeral and take some unpaid leave to do this for this amazing woman, Elizabeth Barraclough, who I'm going to talk about in this live stream when I'm talking about teachers and politics. The other thing, just before I get on to that, things I've been doing this week, I am working on this petition. Delay the multiplication tables check until it has been consulted on and made fit for purpose. If you've not signed it, please sign it. I'll put a link in the description of this video. If you can't find it, just comment somewhere and I will post a link to it there. That's still going on. Oh, and I've set up a Just Giving fund because we need to reach teachers so they get the opportunity to know about this and sign it, not just teachers who watch this YouTube or read my particular Facebook group, but we need to do a bit of promotion so they know about it and can sign it if they want to. So if you could, on your next journey, not stop for a cup of coffee somewhere, but put a £5 into my Just Giving fund, I'll put a link to that in the description as well, and that will pay for promotion. I don't have money. You may have noticed that by now. The other thing I've got going on is this amazing video I had the chance to do with Sue Johnston-Wilder, who's a global expert on maths anxiety, is currently going live. Part 1 is already live. Part 2, which is about how we fix maths anxiety, goes live today in just an hour. Part 3 is on, what's it on? I know part 4 is on whether setting helps. Part 3 is on whether maths anxiety is ever a good thing, and part 4 is on whether setting can help it or not. Just responding to some questions that I was asked off the back of a live stream I did a couple of weeks ago. So we delved into those questions. That's going live. I'm so proud of this interview. If you know anyone who's this much of an expert, even if it's just on a small thing, even if they're a young teacher who's just doing something that they find interesting and wants to talk to someone who'll challenge them to explain what they're doing in depth, then I'd love to do that. So please let me know. Right, to get back to the main theme of this, why teachers should get involved in politics. Well, there's two main reasons. One is because they're needed, and because a lot of teachers are in it just because they want to make a positive difference to people. And there may be things about society they see that are wrong, and they know how to help through being a teacher, and they find that really fulfilling. So those kinds of teachers, we need to encourage them to get into politics, because we need those kinds of people into politics. People who are not angry and want to fight back and destroy other people, people who are upset by things that are wrong and want to gently and constructively use, fix, build the systems we need to improve things. So teachers are who we need there. The problems aren't because we've got teachers there. It's because we haven't got enough teachers there. So teachers are needed, but it is also the most incredibly wonderful thing to do. From all sorts of levels, like just signing my petition or making a donation or joining your local political party, which every teacher should. Politics matters. We have to invest in it. It just costs from about £1 a month to join a political party. Join one. Offer some support to your local people. Connect into the system. Try and make sure that the people who stand for election for you locally are good people. And if you join, you'll get the chance to get involved in those kinds of processes. And they'll maybe ask you to deliver leaflets to your street. And if you say, no, I haven't got time, they'll understand. You should definitely do that. Right up to, for me, it's been the most wonderful thing. You know, I've spent 10 years just surrounded by brilliant people who've taught me all sorts of things. And the most important of them was Elizabeth Barraclough. It was Elizabeth's funeral this week. Elizabeth went to Manchester to study maths. I guess that was in the 1950s. And she became a top expert in computing. She worked for years at Newcastle University, where she ran the computers there and the computing department there. And a building at Newcastle University is named after her because of the amazing work she did. And she was also involved in politics as a Liberal Democrat, and when she retired, she moved to Keswick with her lifelong partner, Dorothy. And she stepped up her involvement. She was mayor, town councillor, borough councillor, county councillor, and had a huge impact on lots of people's lives, not least mine. And in saying goodbye to Elizabeth this week, she is absolutely the life that we would all aspire to. She'd lived absolutely according to her beliefs. She'd inspired everyone. She'd achieved masses. And she was what we described as authoritative, not authoritarian. So she was never bullying anyone. But when she knew her stuff, she would stand up and say it and just tell you how to do things and tell you off if you were getting it wrong. Amazing. And I have met people like that across all political parties. This is not a partisan live stream, because I would also pay credit. I mean, I've been in Cumbria, so I've been working with my Labour MPs. Tony Cunningham was incredibly kind to me when I was struggling in 2010, and then I worked closely with Sue Heyman, who was the Shadow Environment Secretary and is now in the Lords, and I still work with her on complex issues. And Rory Stewart I found really good to work with. He was a senior Tory MP. I've worked with on all sorts of complex issues. But you have to consider politics if you're a teacher, especially if you're close to retirement. It's an amazing thing to do as you retire, just as Elizabeth did. Or if you're in a phase of your career where you're not maybe working full time, maybe you've got caring commitments, maybe you can do a bit of supply, or you're just not teaching just for whatever reason. You maybe can combine politics with your life and do something that's hugely fulfilling. So Elizabeth was a real icon of good politics because she came in with her own passions as a Liberal. She'd been in a same-sex relationship for years. So just to be able to work on that and to inspire politicians who then went into government and legalised same-sex marriage, she really was behind some of those politicians, and she changed the world for the better. But she's also one of those politicians, when you get elected, you find yourself working alongside people from other parties. And there's this great quote in British politics from Jo Cox, who was murdered in her maiden speech to Parliament, where she said, "We have so much more in common than that which divides us." And you find yourself working alongside people from other parties who've come in because they had a particular passion. But generally you're working on things that weren't either of your particular passions, and you're just trying to puzzle out and struggle through them together. Yes, Elizabeth was 88 when she died. She'd been and she was working right up until she died. She'd had like 5 meetings running Sustainable Keswick with the Lib Dems in West Cumbria in the week before she died. Spot on. Her insights were brilliant, and she had a friend to stay over the weekend, and they went out to the cinema together on the Sunday afternoon, and then she had a stroke and died at the age of 88, having said goodbye to her lifelong partner a year or so before that and cared for her. What a way to go. What a life to live. She really did. And this is all about, this podcast, this live stream is all about how to be that kind of person. You have to get involved. So when I was really struggling with issues in education in 2010, I thought all politicians were awful and I didn't want to do it at all. But I ended up with nowhere else to go because there was no consultation. There was no way of feeding into the system or changing it unless you tried politics. So in the spring of I spoke to senior people in different parties, and it seemed that the Lib Dems, I wanted to rebuild consultation, and so did they. So they were the people to talk to for me at that time. And so I joined them in the spring of 2011, did absolutely nothing, and then went to the annual general meeting in the November, and Elizabeth met me outside. She was just there waiting for me. She knew that a new member was coming. She knew it was a woman, and she just went, "Right, wifey, come." And I had a horrendous headache. And I explained I was really worried about education issues. And in this world, Everybody tells you that you can't make a difference and there's no point in trying and you're not up to it. And she just listened to me and she said, well, what you need to do is next spring, 2012, there's a conference in Gateshead, so you need to come with me for the day. I went, okay, because it was months ahead, so I felt okay to commit to that. And we went the following spring, and by the end of the day, I was on a committee where I was with people who totally inspired me, were really, really cared about the same issues that I cared about, and who continue to inspire me for the next 10 years. Just brilliant, brilliant people who slog away with no resource, no money. They just care about policy and they know how things should work, even if they're not working, and they're trying to fix it and they're trying to positively influence things without any of the toxicity, just slogging away. And that's what most politicians are, just like Elizabeth taught me to be. And when I was struggling with the complex issues that I've campaigned on, like maternity services in West Cumbria, she would just say, oh, well, you need to get yourself elected as a county councillor. And I was like, I can't do that. There's no elected Liberal Democrats in West Cumbria. It's absolute Tory safe seats. And she just told me how to do it and supported me. And I was able to get on the right committees and watch things for years, and we built new ways of planning healthcare, and we stabilised the system, and I wrote this book, all because she was there, and some others as well. Thank you to all of the other people who supported me to do this. And I was working closely with politicians from all parties at all times. This was not a partisan thing. It just happened that my support team were there. A good political party locally is one that's just like an amazing family that's raising you and supporting you. And it's not about being at war with other families that are like that. It's just about having a base where you're known and loved and cared for. And so you can then reach out to others. And then we had the worst youth mental health crisis in the country in West Cumbria. So I was like, well, I have no idea what to do. And Elizabeth just said, well, ask your administrative officer at County Council, talk to them. And within a few weeks, I was at a conference in London that they could finance and get me involved in as a county councillor, talking about all the issues in West Cumbria and developing a plan that these people then supported me with to build a new network, to oversee services, and things started to move forward really quickly. And I just couldn't have done any of that without people like her. And she's one in a million, absolutely one in a million, in this world where people tell you can't do it, you mustn't try. She was one in a million. And if you need that person to explain to you how it's done and how you can make a positive difference, then please do contact me. An easy way to contact me is through LinkedIn. If you just add a message when you request a link, because I don't pick up requests that don't have a message if I don't know the person, explaining that, and I will make time for you, just as she did for me. I've had to step away from frontline politics now for care reasons, family reasons, but I do commit a lot of my time to just supporting others who might want to do it, and I'm really passionate about doing this. If you need someone in your life who says, yes, you can do it, and it's not a partisan thing, I support people to get involved in all political parties, because all political parties need good people from education. So, final thing, join a political party. Even if you don't want to do anything right now, encourage others who do or who might, which are those approaching retirement, those in chaotic stage of their career. People who've had a breakdown teaching are often great politicians because they end up, their life is razed to the ground, they lose their jobs, so they've nothing, and that's a great place to be in to start to engage with politics, because you can just do what you can do with politics. It's really good that way. So I've had years when I've done nothing, and then I've had a bit of time, so I've done lots, and it really works with that. If you haven't signed my petition yet, please sign it. As I said, there'll be links in the comments, and if you could spare a £5 to donate to the Just Giving account so other teachers can know about this, I'd be hugely grateful. Okay, have a great Sunday. Take care. Bye for now.